Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. My name's Anna Pirelli. The comments that you see here are my views, beliefs, opinions, and sometimes they are not even my fully formed views, beliefs, and opinions. However, they are my understandings. Please do retain an open mind and reflect on any of the content and your comfort levels. If your views differ, please feel free to leave a comment. Also remember, it is possible to disagree in respectful ways. My way is not necessarily your way and vice versa. You might also find that some of the content on this playlist in regard to spiritual or universal laws, it resonates with you, meaning it feels right to you, while other laws may not feel right or they may not feel comfortable. If this is the case, the information is either not right for you or it is not right for you right now, and it might never be right for you at any given time. It really doesn't matter. As an earthy and practical person, I can put my hand up with all honesty and say that I have at different times had the same feelings about some of the content in here, and with some of them I still have a level of skepticism within my viewpoints, but I choose to retain an open mind about the things that I don't fully understand for a few reasons. Firstly, because I believe it would be supreme arrogance to think that we all know all of the answers while we have a body. And because what is right for one of us is not necessarily right or suitable for all of us, and I choose to respect the differences. Please do leave your opinions, beliefs. Feel free to argue the points in a respectful way with any of the content on the slides and even my interpretations. And if you feel that you can add clarity around some of the content, we would all love to see it. Thank you. For now, though, let's explore the laws.
All creation is governed by law. The principles that operate in the outer universe, discoverable by scientists, are called natural laws. But there are subtler laws that rule the hidden spiritual planes and the inner realm of consciousness. Contained within these laws, or conditions, is the true nature of matter. Knowledge of these laws has an effect upon the mental urges. Mind is the builder. Stay in full mindfulness of the application of universal law as related to self and to others, and know that in love all life is given. In love all things move. In giving one attains. In giving one acquires. In giving, love becomes the fulfillment of desire, guided and directed in the ways that bring the more perfect knowledge of self as related to the universal, all-powerful, all-guiding, all-divine influence in life. Love is life. When we go back, merge with the God source, in some infinitesimal but profound way, we expand the mind of God. Our higher self always points the best and most perfect way, and it is ours to listen and choose or reject what we hear. It does not blame, but patiently tries again to show the perfect way, the loving way. All of creation pushes forth. We are ever becoming. Identity ever remains. Universal law number 6. The law of attraction. This is the basic law of all manifestation, the love aspect, and it governs the soul aspect. It is one of the 3 major laws, and has 11 subsidiary laws. Fundamentally, this law describes the compelling force of attraction that holds our solar system to the Sirian. It holds our planets revolving around our central unit, the Sun. It holds the lesser systems of atomic and molecular matter circulating around the center in the planet, and that of the subtle bodies coordinated around their microcosmic center. It is the primary law of man. The law of synthesis is beginning to be felt.
Hi there and welcome back to Lorena's Labyrinth, or welcome to, if this is your first time. I guess when you look at this page, you're probably a bit like me. The law of attraction is not initially what we thought it might look like, is it? Because if you've been reading the book The Secret, the law of attraction within this context has a totally different meaning. So anyway, I have been reflecting again on what this one might mean and how I might explain it, because it's such a big subject, and I wouldn't with any There's no way, is what I was going to say, that I could possibly offer any information in any authoritarian way as though I know everything about this, because I definitely don't. And I've concluded upon my own reflections that the law of analogy, which we've talked about here, comes into play, and because it interferes with the offering of an explanation of something that is largely indescribable or indefinable, at least for me. And when you're looking at language and that kind of stuff, there's limitations of language, and there's limitations for me personally upon my levels of understanding as well. So anyway, obviously it's a given that the law of attraction is a primary law, because it says that in the law, and that there are subsidiary laws that will end up being uploaded on this playlist as we go through. So the law of attraction refers to a force or a magnetic pull, such as gravity. I can get my head around this, because I think this is actually a real rational process, actually. So it refers to a magnetic-like pull, the law of polarities, positives and negatives and this kind of thing. And because the law talks about planets in the solar system, this one I think will probably be a little bit more difficult to, well, in fact, it's going to be more than a little bit difficult, potentially a bit uncomfortable to actually explain, because it mentions the word Syrian. And I suspect that that is actually either a typo or a misunderstanding, because I'm just going to pause this while I think about how to articulate it effectively. Okay, so basically the reason why Syrian I don't perceive to be a good description is because that's not a place that, in my understanding, it is a group of beings, if you like, in the same way that humans have souls, but we might refer to the Syrians as a species. And that means that I'm going to actually have to draw a picture for you of what I understand. And I've had a look, I've done a bit of it, and it's not actually terribly effective either, I might add. But look, at the end of the day, this is all about giving you concepts and things to reflect on and develop your own sense of understanding with. So even if it doesn't look right as to my understanding, I guess it doesn't matter, because it's not going to look right to you anyway. You will develop your own understanding through this process. So because we've mentioned the word Syrian on the other slides and actually within the law itself, then I need to actually talk about planets first. And I'm not going to go... Well, I need to talk about the Syrians, my understandings of it, right? I'm not going to go too deep into this explanation because there's a lot of variations in the understandings. And frankly, I'm not sure that movies like Matrix and Avatar have helped to make this concept logical and rational. My understanding of what I'm about to tell you actually was something I came to many, many years ago when reading a book, actually, that was written by an Englishman post World War II. The language of the book was very old, quite dull actually to read, but it was his experience of meeting, I think the guy was an Indian Brahmana, and he was offering him insight into the workings of the universe. And I know for myself, when I first read the book, I thought, what a crock, as you do. And I was like, because I'm so very earthy and practical, and I have that logical aspect to myself, it was like, what a crock, these people are off with the fairies or whatever. But then the interesting thing was that as my life experience increased and my own personal understanding of spirit and spirit communication, and that my mind actually expanded to be able to make sense of certain things that were in the book, it didn't seem so far-fetched then. And I think I ended up reading this, what I just referred to as a boring tome, about 6 times in the end, because it just seemed to give me new information all the time. Anyway, I've just wandered down the rabbit warren, as you do. So my understanding is that there is a definition of the spiritual kingdom, and it's not like the Christian definitions of the spiritual kingdom, because they will say there's heaven and hell, for example. My understanding is, I believe, until somebody tells me different, that my understanding is more aligned with the Jewish explanations of heaven or the spiritual kingdom, and where they perceive that, because actually I didn't know, but if you're Jewish and you're watching this, let me know if I've got this correct, because I certainly have not studied Judaism. my understanding is that they don't believe in hell as per the Christian's view. They believe that the experience of living on earth with all of the earthly challenges is the hell, or the hell of our own making. I may not be correct with that. I'm open to being corrected. Anyway, so that's kind of my understanding of what we call the spiritual kingdom in part, but mine goes a bit further. So I'll just look at my notes that I've put here. Okay, so what I explain as the spiritual kingdom is not that different to what we have on earth with the animal kingdoms, which is why I've got this slide here with the classifications. You've got here, on earth, none of us have any issue. We walk around, we can see that there's vertebrates, we can see there's invertebrates. We see, and I'm not sure about my pronunciations, if I'm doing it wrong, my apologies. But yeah, we can see that we have animals with fur, we can see that we have animals with feathers, scales, marine life, reptiles, the insects, and this is all part of keeping the status quo on the planet, right? So this is our animal kingdom. So now I'm going to flick over, hold your breath, be excited, wait for it. I do apologize in advance. I'm building the suspense. I hope I'm not going to offend anybody, but anyway, I'm going to do this now. So here it is, folks. I do apologise. Please try not to choke. Okay, certainly not at the visuals, because it's very hard to do justice with the images that I can find online to put to this subject, if you like. So in regard to the spiritual kingdom, my understanding is that, as with the animal kingdom, there's a whole range of different species, for want of a better word, and that humans are born. We are born into a physically human body, and those people that are born into a human body, they have a soul that obviously is human. I'm not going to go too far into that. And then another species, for want of a better description again, is actually the angelic realm, who also, because the reality of this concept is that once the body is dropped, every species is at some level a mass of just pure energy. There's nothing physical about them, and this is the same. Just a second, I need to cough. Excuse me, sorry about that. Okay, so there's a human spirit, if you like, that becomes incarnate into a human body. There is an angelic realm, which is obviously energetic mass, aura, I guess with sentience, feelings, that kind of thing, emotions. I'm not going to go too far into exactly what each of these concepts are, because this becomes the personal truth, and I really am a big believer that nobody can tell us what something is. It's something that we have to find ourselves and develop our own understanding through the process of meditation, reflection, and our own inner learning, because what I feel to be true is not necessarily going to be true to you, and vice versa. But anyway, of course, I put up this little image of Tinkerbell. Now, my understanding is that's not a true representation of, because there's the fairy realm. My understanding is that the descriptors, that it's just so difficult. Okay, so let's just say every image here has got an auric body. It's a light body. It might be a light circle, but it has a shape and a form, right? So there is also a fairy realm, and my understanding is that their shape and form in most instances is not this tiny little thing wearing a Tinkerbell skirt or anything like that, but they are a smaller auric layer, if you like. So angelic light bodies, that's what we're going to call them. So an angelic light body is apparently very large. The human one is somewhere in between, size-wise, between the angel's light body and the fairy realm's light body, because what I understand, and I could be incorrect, I'm open to correction, is that when we think about the tiny little ones, we're actually not really thinking specifically about fairies, as well, we are if we're talking about the fairy realm, but we're talking more about, if we were to compare it to the animal kingdom chart, we would be talking about things like insects, I guess, small ones. What are they called? Diva. Earth divas, I think they're called. When we say the word diva, I guess in modern times, we're probably imagining somebody that, has all of her bits out like Madonna. That's absolutely not what they are. They're the elementals. They look after the earth and this kind of thing. I absolutely could not find a good image. So I ended up going for, I think that's somewhere between a pixie and a leprechaun. But that's another form of earth elementals. Now, interestingly, I know at least with the Australian Aboriginal people that I've spoken to them, and they acknowledge men of the earth that have special tasks. Actually, I can't go too far into that because it's not my business or culture. It's just a conversation that I've had with somebody many years ago. And they do acknowledge that there is earth forms and I guess in a way kind of like another form of light body. Now, one thing I learned about this many years ago. So whether you believe in it or not, I always say just keep an open mind, because when I initially heard of it, I struggled to actually have an open mind towards it, but I thought, better safe than sorry, as you do. I was working in mining. Most of the people that I was working with were doing underground mining, and somebody had said to me, when they go down, we call it going down the hole. Actually, when they do underground mining, it's like, tell your family and friends and that when they go down the hole to just give a nod to the earth elementals, show of respect. Let them know that you respect the fact that they're providing a source to you to generate income. I mean, as much as my understanding is, as much as spirit or whatever doesn't want to see the earth raped and pillaged, that they do accept and respect that we all have to make a living. But if we can at least do it with a bit of respect and courtesy, that goes a long way. And so what was put to me was that when you go down the hole, that you give them the nod, that thank you, gratitude for going down the hole, and it's perfectly fine to ask for protection while you're at work. Now, that for people that haven't lived this experience, that might not be fully comprehensible to you, but within the context of living in these environments, that's actually a big deal, because what can happen when they're underground is that the walls can cave in, and certainly in the area that I was living, it was not unheard of. I can't remember what they call it now, but where there's a back water and the walls, when the walls break down, the water comes through and it floods them and people get killed on the job. So this, I guess, even though I didn't particularly believe in it at the time, it became a practice that I adopted into my life, and I do believe obviously that it was beneficial for it. So now I've totally digressed. Here we are. You can see the little green man on the side. This is the bit that might be a little bit offensive to people, so I apologise in advance. If we talk about Syrians, this is my understanding, right? Number one, if they were ever accepted on the earth plane, because there are people that do believe they're Syrians, they would probably be very, very offended by this image, and they would say things like, don't call me an alien and I'm not an ET. That's rude, because we've got such a woke group of people these days, which I actually don't think they're woke, to be honest. I think they're a bit sleepy. But anyway, they would probably define themselves as something like, I'm a Galactian or I'm a starseed. These are the common words. Anyway, the bottom line is I am not the person to be talking about who and what the Syrians are as a group of species, beyond the fact that they are often referred to as starseeds, and they have claimed that title for themselves. And quite often what I see them writing up is that they're not human. They've come to Earth apparently to help out humanity for some greater purpose. And I think this is the bit that I struggle a little bit with, because it sounds really quite egotistical, One of the sites that I saw, and I mean everybody's truth is different, is that the Syrians consider themselves to be the most advanced of all the Galactian species. When it comes to an open-minded perspective, okay, this is what I put out here. I believe we would have to be supremely arrogant to think that we as humans are the only species on the planet, especially when science continues to acknowledge that there are other galaxies. We're not a lone galaxy, there's other ones out there. And anyway, I'm diverting. This slide's got very long. The reason I'm mentioning all of this is because when it talks about the law, I don't believe it's referring to the Sirians per se as a group of people. I believe it's referring to the stars, Sirius A and Sirius B, and which, of course, this is the space, nice choice of words here, that the people who claim to be Sirians claim that they come from. And I believe they identify as being from either Sirius A or Sirius B. And this is why I say Avatar hasn't really helped, because immediately when I hear things like that, and I'm probably the same as you, I think, oh my God, here we go. People's minds just getting overboard. And more recently, I've actually seen that there's claims that if they're from Sirius A or Sirius B, that they have got blue or purple skin. And to me, I'm thinking this reeks of Avatar. And because I've got the mental health training, I find it a little bit disturbing. So, I guess I'm at that point where I go, well, it's not for me to turn around and say what's true for other people, but I certainly have my own struggles accepting that. And if that's how you identify, I do apologise, but each to our own. So back to trying to interpret this particular law, right? I suspect what it means is that we're all part of a great big galactic solar system that revolves around the sun. There's no news within that. We already know that. Pythagoras knew it many centuries ago. A couple of millennia ago, he knew that. And that the entire galaxy is held together through a series of magnetic attractants, okay? So I'm not a scientist, as explained, so this is a little bit big for my brain, but at some level it makes sense to me, so I'll keep giving it a crack, right? Everything is ether and matter, and everything is in a constant state of motion, but the motions and the movement, if you like, they're not random accidents, that it's all coordinated and planned. And these actions, for want of a better description, are actually creator actions. And each action, because there's always a flow on, produces chemicals or compounds that cause further chain reactions that help to continue or create life or aspects of life. And where we will feel at some stage and experience the effects of these movements. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this back to having a little bit of an opinion piece here for a moment. What I think and believe, I'm not going to say actually with any great authority, but firm conviction. I'm not going to say with firm conviction, that's what I mean. That what I think this law implies is to those people that are believers that the whole of where we are today is the result of a great Big Bang theory. We've all heard the Big Bang. I've always said, for some reason, I don't have a problem with believing in the Big Bang. What I have a problem with is scientists thinking that it was some freak of nature and that there was not a divine component to this. And this is actually before I even started trying to unpack all of this stuff. So I think what we're talking about here is that, there's ongoing little Big Bangs or something like that, and there is chain events to it. And also I have a feeling that what we might be talking about at some level is quantum physics, and that might be why I'm struggling with the articulation of it. So there may be people that are listening to this who are able to better able to interpret what it is I'm trying to talk about and to put across their viewpoints, or maybe educate us all a little bit better. Anyway, regardless, I'm now going to hand over to you and just say, well, what do you make of these laws? How do you interpret it? What do you think it might mean for you? And the other thing is I guess, to try and understand this, it requires that real setting aside some time and reflecting on what it feels like. Maybe have a list of questions first and trying to tap into your inner guidance and get the answers. I don't know. I can think of a scientist straight away that I would probably be interested in this and probably could answer it to a reasonable extent, but I'm not sure that any of us would actually understand what he was talking about. I don't know. I should just be quiet, move on to the next slide. I suspect that my approach to this, so just before I sign off for the day, is that this is one of these laws or situations where I find myself thinking, the more I learn, the less I understand, and the more I realise that actually I know very little. I know nothing. Okay. I think there's a quote somewhere. I might have to try and find it. The more I learn, the less I understand. Actually, maybe it was by Socrates or something. Somebody like that back in those days. You might remember the quote. Pop it up if you like. I can certainly relate to it when it comes to these kind of concepts. I feel in my heart of hearts that it makes sense on some level, but at the same time, for me, it's like, do I really need to know this stuff, right? How important and relevant is it for me to actually understand the workings of the universe right now, right here today? And I think, no, it's just going to do my head in. I'm quite happy to go, you know what, actually, I'm fine living a simple life. I don't need to know all of this stuff. But if it's important for you guys to know it and understand it, well, then follow your gut instinct, right? Do whatever feels right to you, you know? But for me, yeah, I think I'll move on from it and on to the next law, see if I can make sense of that one in a way that resonates with my heart and soul. So anyway, at this point in time, I'll catch you on the next slide or the next video. Until we next meet across the digital ethers. Stay well, my friends. Take care. Wishing you many blessings and good fortune. Catch ya. Bye-bye.